welcome to the podcast. It is truly an honor that you are here with me today. I'm so excited. I've known you as a stylist forever, ever since I started. I was like, if I could just meet her, she'd be the one. But you started off as a sommelier.
Well, I started off as I had seen Tequila Sunrise with Michelle Pfeiffer and Kurt Russell, and I wanted to be front of house of a restaurant. I was like, oh my God. Oh, and Mel Gibson, of course, but like, I don't care about Mel Gibson. And I wonder why. And so I was like, oh my God, I want to run a restaurant. So I went to like cooking school to learn the back of the house. And then I went to food and beverage school. So I was like a maitre d', a waitress. I loved it so much. And then it's just part of the whole process of being in this very robust restaurant. Became a sommelier, but just like levels of learning, which is very indicative to who I am. I think I'm like, oh, I want to learn all the parts, the sums of everything.
And have you always been like that? Like even when you were little, were you like that?
I don't think so. When I was little, I was like, I don't know. I was not like an ambitious kid. I was just a kid who was literally daydreaming and playing with my Barbies. I was the youngest of four. And my parents we weren't like scheduled at all. Although all my siblings, I think they just were tired or broke when they got to me, because all my siblings are like amazing athletes. They all played on teams. They all are like really academic. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, they're pretty academically smart. And then I just came along and I was like, do, and this is a party. I was probably a little bit rotten when I was a teenager. But I was just more introverted and like solitary in a way, like really just did my own thing.
But obviously that led you to this incredible career, which happened, it's not that often, right, where you see these people that have impact global trends, huge clients. And so do you think that imagination or that quietness sort of led you into like a world builder, if you will?
Yeah, it's a marvel even to me, but it's so funny to look back, and I'm sure you feel the same way. I'm trying to hide I'm in a cabin in the woods, everybody. That's why everything is very messy behind. I think that, when you look at your career so far, I'm like, wow, how did this happen? But yeah, I think ultimately too, being a little bit of a loner and being introverted but very nurtured, right? I have youngest of four siblings. We're very close, but maybe that made me a little more brave to kind of just be like, oh, okay, I'm going to move to California. I mean, I also moved for love because, my husband came into my restaurant and I fell in love, and I just was like, well, fuck it. I'm going to move to California. So yeah, I think so. I think being bored and daydreaming is the most important gift you could give your kid, really, and give yourself. I mean, we don't really get to do it anymore, and I'm trying to get back to that idea. I read something amazing the other day, and this gentleman, he was retired, and he said, being able to control your time is luxury. And I was like, well, ain't that the truth? So, yeah.
It's the truth. I now force myself at night. I don't daydream, I night dream. Right before I go to bed, I'll take like those 10 minutes before I fall asleep to just dream.
That's amazing. Yeah, I had summers of it, of just sitting in the woods, and I grew up in a very, very small town, so you would naturally, I think, be bored a lot of times. What they call bored, but now I realize it wasn't necessarily bored. I was like super connected to the earth. So that's one of the greatest like gifts I've had in my life, is to be really connected to nature and be able to just let your mind wander. And yeah, that's where it all kind of happened for me. And I think what I have too is I've never been that, and I know this is going to sound maybe a little privileged, but it's not. But I think I just kind of flowed. Like I wasn't that great at anything. That's ultimately what it came down to. But what I knew I was great at was being very, very hard worker. Like I never would say no to, I had a job at like a full-on job after school every day from 14 on. And even before that, at 11, and 10, I had a paper route that I had to do 3 times a week. So I wasn't smart or athletic or any of the things that I think make you be a standout in the traditional education system. But I could work really hard, and I loved that. Like I ultimately am like I like being defined by my work because that it fulfills me. So it's not some thing where they're like work less, and I'm like no, I like working.
Yeah, I feel like I I I very much identify with what you're saying because I wasn't the typical smart either, but I also knew I could work hard and I had the creative side, which clearly you have.